we on? Okay. If everyone could take their seats, we want to call the meeting to order. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the criminal justice meeting this morning. We're going to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commission members Brown.
Present.
Fuller.
Present.
Harris. Herr. Present. Rodriguez.
Here.
Vice Chair Little.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Jen, would you like to lead us in the flag salute, please? Everyone stand, please. We have some presentations this morning. The Antelope Valley Emergency Management State of Readiness. Commissioner Brown, would you like to introduce?
Dr. Goose, who just got here, and I think he might have a data drive. What do you call those things? That's right. We thought it'd be a good opportunity. Actually, Dr. Travis Dusen and Doug Hirsch are from the hospital disaster preparedness team, and they were scheduled a couple months ago to come in and just give us sort of an update on where we are. But in addition to that, you guys want to come up?
Your mic, put your mic on you. There we go.
And then, in addition, we had this event in Las Vegas, which I think brought to even more to our minds why this kind of preparation can be important. And of course, active shooter is not the only kind of situation. Probably more likely we're going to deal with an earthquake or some other kind of mass casualty event. And the question is how can we be better prepared to deal with a sudden influx of a lot of injured people? Now, the fire department here in town and the police department are very skilled at this. They're very trained. They've been doing this for a long time, and we're hoping to catch up. This is a program at our hospital which has not been attended to as well as it could have been in the past, and we have a new board and a new administration which is very focused on it and has brought in Dr. Dusen and Doug Hirsch to head up an effort to try and get our program up to speed, not only up to compliance but up to excellence. A little background, Dr. Dusen out of high school joined the Special Forces for 6 years. When he left that, he went back to college, went on to Harvard Medical School, residency at UCLA, and has now, for 12 years, been one of our ER doctors. Doug Hirsch has spent 20 years in emergency management, both on the federal level and the state level, and we're lucky to have him on board. Both of them are new to the AV hospital effort to try and get ourselves up to a level of competence that I think the Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department has been at for a long time. And so one of the purposes to be here today was to introduce these guys and to have them have a chance to meet the people here that they can collaborate with in the future. Also to introduce where we are, where we hope to be. But after the event in Las Vegas, I also asked Dr. Dusen, who's spent a lot of time working on this. He went to the terrorist bomb program that FEMA puts on in Arizona a couple years back and came back trained to be an instructor at our hospital in that regard. But I asked him to give us a little bit of a briefing about what happened in Las Vegas, what lessons they had learned ahead of time that made them better prepared to deal with the influx of casualties, how some of those lessons had been learned from what happened in Orlando. So I'll let I'll let Travis give us a little review and then introduction where we hope to go.
Thanks, Mark. Can everyone hear me? Should I be closer to this thing or, yeah? So I'm Travis Dewson, and I'm the medical director of our emergency management program. Whoops. I need to keep my finger off the button. And this is really just sort of a meet and greet because we're revamping our program, as Dr. Brown said, and we want to become a center of excellence in the area. We're your only trauma center. We serve a huge population in a very large catchment area, and we don't have a lot of the resources that they had in Las Vegas. So Chris Ballinger is and since I want this to be a meet and greet and sort of have some personal faces to go with the names and the phone numbers, that will be calling on some of your departments to put together some training exercises and some drills in a meaningful manner for the future. This is something that I wanted to put together so that you would all have a face to go with my name whenever I call in your department and try to take up some of your training time and some of your department resources. Chris Ballinger is a name that you may see in the near future. We just hired him on as our emergency coordinator. Doug Hirsch, standing next to me here, is the current emergency coordinator, and he's also our safety director, and he's going to be directing both of those departments with Chris Ballinger underneath him. Las Vegas luck, and of course we all know that there's no luck in disaster preparation. It's all about preparation. University Medical Center in July had one of the docs that was working in Orlando and took care of the patients there in what was formerly the largest mass shooting incident in the United States. In July, they drilled to this very exercise, and this was not a lucky thing. They'd been drilling and preparing for a long time, and so whenever the actual event happened, they were ready and they were able to do a lot of amazing things. They have a 16-bay trauma area where they were able to take people in, start doing surgery on them immediately. This is penetrating trauma, and so the convenient thing about penetrating trauma is that you can strip the clothes off, find all the holes that don't belong there, and move in and start patching things. They did this without even registering the patient. One of the challenges they faced was that they didn't have a system in place that allowed for rapid registration. So they would have John Doe on the table in front of them, and the surgeon would never meet them. The anesthesiologist didn't meet them. They just put them under anesthetic and operated on them and fixed all the problems that they could find. The next slide here, since I'm former military, I become the resident expert in anything that has to do with something that's military or automatic weapons, even though I'm not an expert. So those of you in this room that are experts, please just bear with me. I thought that there will be enough people in the room and I've had enough interest in the bump stock that I downloaded a little video. This is only 7 seconds long, and it'll replay until I advance the slide to the next slide. But if you look at it, it jumps around a lot, and there's a little schematic at the very end, lasts for maybe a second or two, where you can see the internal workings of this thing. So I thought that might be of interest. I'll let it play one more time. So our current state at the hospital in emergency preparedness has really been coming out of a decade of dormancy where we really didn't have very much. We were able to maintain a minimum compliance with all the agencies that you can probably recognize, LA County and the state of California, as well as the Joint Commission for Hospitals. But that's really all we did. We really don't have any level of competency, only compliance. Some of our trauma statistics, and this is what we're also starting off with, is that we are the largest trauma center catchment area in Los Angeles County. We have 1,500 square miles. We treat just over 1 million people, or we have just over 1 million people in our catchment area. And we have the second highest acuity. This is compared to all the LA County trauma centers. We are second in terms of acuity and second in terms of having the lowest mortality. The mortality is significant because this is not adjusted for acuity. So when you have a traumatic event, Antelope Valley Hospital, even though it's sort of an old dilapidated building and we're very small, we're also very good at what we do. So you can rest assured that UCLA has the lowest mortality, but they don't have the highest acuity. Harbor down in Torrance has the highest acuity, but they don't have the lowest mortality. So if we combine our higher acuity with our having the second lowest mortality, then that puts us very near the top, if not at the top, for level of acuity and having the best outcomes. So that's what we have to start off with as a trauma center. Our stroke program and our heart attack program are similarly excellent within LA County, and we compare very favorably to the rest of the hospitals, if not top them. This is some of the stuff from my instructor pack from the terrorist bombing incident response. It was in Socorro, New Mexico. It's a fantastic class, last 5 days. And at the end of it, you get this instructor pack so that you can come and kind of spice up some of your briefings like this, so that when things start to get a little bit stale with me talking, I can show you a briefcase that's loaded with 3 pounds of commercial explosive. And this is a video here of what happens to a small building that they built just for this. And this is on the bomb range out there. How do I make a mouse come up on this? Or if you would just go to the bottom, there you go, push the play button. And this is just a short video. It'll play in real time and then slow motion. So much for technical skills. It looks like that one's not going to work. So what we want to bring out of this is a future healthcare coalition where we partner with Antelope Valley Hospital's emergency management and then the experts that are here in this room, Public Works, Fire, Public Safety, just to name a few, and have meaningful drills together so that we can become experts in mass casualty incidents and any disaster, all sort of an all hazards approach. We want to drill monthly until we're good at it, and then quarterly after that. We need to do quarterly drills to remain in compliance. But our plan is monthly until we get really good at it. That doesn't mean I'm going to be calling on the departments in the room here every month. We won't need everybody together every month, but maybe quarterly we'll get together with everyone in the room and have drills that have a positive impact on our response to disasters. Let's see if this one works. The last one didn't. I have no idea what this one's going to do. This is 300 pounds of ammonia nitrate and fuel oil in the trunk of a car. And similarly, let's see if we get anything out of it. Well, we get sound. All right. Well, along with that sound is the disappearance of that car. And that's what I have for you. I'll be happy to take questions, and I have a pocket full of business cards that I hope to hand out to anybody that's interested in this.
Any questions from the commissioners?
Is there a good place I can just leave a stack of business cards and have anybody interested pick them up?
You can leave them right
Yeah.
up here. Yeah. Are you, are you working with the Antelope Valley Transit Authority? As far as they're going to have 80 buses that are generators?
This is one of the items that I wanted to come and meet everyone for, because I know a lot of this preparation is going on without involving the hospital. And Doug can speak to what he knows of what's going on in the rest of the city. But this is sort of a drill that we want to be part of. Antelope Valley Hospital will both be a key asset in disaster and a potential target if it's a man-made disaster. But I'll step back and let Doug take the podium for a moment and address the transit.
Sure. So just go ahead and be a frank answer. We have not contacted the AVTA yet to coordinate. That is part of our plan, though.
Okay.
We do as a group know of their capabilities, and that is one of the things that we have thought of for mass transport of any kind of patients or anything. But no, we have not called AVTA yet to try to work with them.
Okay, we just need to know what kind of fittings that you're going to need to transfer the energy, because it's just a big battery pack, and
Sure.
we're going to have 80 of them.
Yeah, so we're going through a state of so just to basically give you like a very short answer is right now at the hospital, with what Dr. Dewson said, with like kind of the lack of the proper management, is a lot of the knowledge is tribal knowledge. And so I'm working with Dr. Dewson and our new employee when he comes on board to extract that tribal knowledge and put it in a digital format. So we've been working to fish all this knowledge out of our departments, IT, engineering department. So I have not fully identified what the needs of our hospital are at this point, just to be frank and honest.
Okay, thank you. Is there a time frame for that? Is there a time frame for that, or what's your time frame on analyzing that information?
Sure. So the plan has been, since I came on board, I've been on board for about 5 months. The plan is by 2018, the beginning of the year, that we have completed a full assessment of what our hospital needs are and what our current state is. We ran into a few little hiccups trying to hire, but we got somebody on board. So we're still on track to have a full assessment done by the year's end.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just to, I applaud you on behalf of the city, Mayor Paris, and the council for taking this on, and Dr. Brown for bringing this. There is a pretty robust system already in place of communication. We'll put you in touch, I'll see you afterwards, with our staff person who's full-time on it that deals with the sheriff's department, the fire department, through public safety and such as well, too, to integrate that. They have monthly and or quarterly staff get-togethers of, what everyone does in terms of both exercises, preparedness, and then looking at where the weak points are, water, electricity, whatever. And I think that plugging you into there would give you a quick start into where everyone else is at and where we can coordinate some of those efforts. Because a lot of that, some of it has already likely been done, and the information that you'll need. For example, there are damage assessment teams, both of the sheriff, fire, and city, that will go out immediately to different either infrastructure or buildings to do a quick assessment of what's happening, which can be fed directly to you guys to let you know. So I think there's a lot already in place, and we can get it up to speed quickly.
Yeah, that's great. We greatly appreciate the help. We're definitely not trying to reinvent our own program. We're just trying to know what all the services are that are here for us to use and to coordinate with, and then vice versa. We want to share the information that what the hospital can coordinate with all these places as well, because we do sit in an area where we are the hospital. We are the only hospital. Even if there is damage to our hospital, we don't have a choice. We're going to receive patients, and we're going to have to treat them as well. So
the other thing that I wanted to mention, if I may, is that the Mayor Paris and the council have asked Council Member Molly to lead up our efforts in terms of citizen emergency preparedness, because our thought is that the fire department's probably the best in the world at what they do. They get called to everything. Ditto with the sheriff, and we as a city really work hard at it. But
except go-kart racing.
Except go-kart racing, apparently. What we don't have is, like any community, we need our citizens to be more prepared. Simple things like, do you have 3 days worth of food, water, equipment, and stuff? That's number one. Number two, can you take care of your property? If you just learn how to turn your water and gas off if necessary, it will save a world of that. And then number three, emergency plan. And we think that we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 in 4, as the Raj has provided us information, people that might be prepared, and we want to get that up higher. So over the next 3 months, you're going to see a very robust citizen engagement campaign, making it easy for people to protect their property, get all the things. And you're going to get sick of Raj's face because it's going to be on every video and publication. That was a joke, by the way. You guys can laugh at any time. So I think that that's part of it too, but we could really learn from you guys of, meeting with Councilmember Molly. What is it that the hospital would like citizens to know? Where do you go? What should you look for? Those kind of things, because we can put that information out too, and we have a very, very robust network and social media platform.
Yeah, we can definitely interface on that level, and that's the kind of collaboration that we're looking for.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I think that's excellent. I know you guys have a very intact program, and we want to become part of it. And I think the reason that Travis and Doug are here today is to meet and greet and find out who they should be talking to and how we can integrate the hospital into your program.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Brown, for bringing that forward. That's fantastic. Los Angeles County Sheriff Simulator Demonstration, Sergeant Nagel. I think, sir, we're going to, if it's okay with you, and request for Mr. Paris too, we're going to put them at the end of today's meeting so we all have a chance to view the simulator, what they have in the back for us. If that's, is that good? Okay, everyone agree with that? Fantastic. All right. Public business before we have none? No speaker cards? Okay, all right. Consent calendar, has everyone had a chance to view the consent calendar? Approval of the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
We have a
Second.
motion. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Would it be 4-1? Abstain? Mr. Fuller's abstaining because he wasn't here, and I didn't get a chance to greet Mr. Fuller back on the criminal justice. So welcome, Mr. Fuller, again, and look forward to your input. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Chris?
Good morning, everybody. So first we're going to start with the Crime Commission report. We're going over the specialized teams. Burglary suppression team, you can see that there's a significant increase in felony arrests for the burglary team. They were, through their saturation patrols, they were able to arrest several burglary crews who've been plaguing the east side of Lancaster. They were able to serve 6 warrants, 6 search warrants, make 7 warrant arrests. They recovered 3 firearms, and they also recovered $41,685 worth of recovered property. The Landcap team were able to make 16 arrests, felony arrests, 49 misdemeanor arrests, and it's for 65 total. The number of increase for the misdemeanor arrests is due to them doing more quality of life crimes, targeting those specifically, dealing with some of the homeless population and some of the other things around the boulevard, trying to make impact in those areas. We also had 1 stolen vehicle and 4 firearms recovered. The robbery team did 16 felony arrests, 3 search warrants. They didn't have 0 firearms recovered. The total robberies were 32, armed were 12, strong arm were 20. They also were able to arrest a couple crews that were doing robberies here in the area. So that will reflect in the with the felony arrests made by the robbery team. Crime prevention measures taken was the most wanted. The disaster preparedness for the month of September, neighborhood watch program, community meeting with Cedar Ridge Apartments, where we, myself and some of the Landcap deputies were able to meet with the management over at Cedar Ridge and address some of the individual questions and concerns for the community and be able to advise them on how to better serve the community. We also briefed them on Crime Stoppers, which allows them to anonymously report crime activity in the community. Community engagements that we participated in this year, or excuse me, for September, were Celebrate America, which is on September 9th, the Fallen Heroes Memorial, September 11th, the Coffee with the Deputy at the Lemon Leaf on September 14th, We also attended the domestic violence presentation on September 14th, and as guest speakers at the UAV, spoke to students preparing to be EMT, paramedics, and nurses. And the community class, number 37, it's 8 weeks long. That also started last month. That's for happening at Palmdale Station. Here are some pictures that you can see of those community events. Celebrate America is up there. You have the 9/11 Memorial. Coffee with the Deputy at McDonald's. That's a special edition Coffee with the Deputy at McDonald's on the east side at 20th East and Avenue J. And the last slide is at the UAV for the domestic violence presentation.
Chris, may I ask a question?
Sure.
You mentioned you took down a couple, the Sheriff's Department took down a couple teams that were involved with robberies.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you make a note or let us know as a commission that a lot of these that were happening, were they plugged into these specific individuals, or was it just additional? You know, was it on your figures here? You have that, and I was just wondering if you've come up with these individuals that you've taken down, you plugged into more robberies throughout the Antelope Valley or Lancaster here.
Yes, usually when we make arrests, especially when we arrest crews, we tie them to several robberies that we know they've committed, and then we go back and see if there's similar incidents that occurred that we can link them to for other robberies that occurred in the area. So once we get them in custody, usually that's what we do. We'll build our case, and maybe initially it could be, and this is just a guess, maybe 5 or 10 robberies. And then as we start to sift through our reports, we find out that there's many more that they've done. And they might actually cop out to that and admit that to us, and then we'd be able to just charge them for all those robberies. So that could significantly impact
Your figure.
our stats as far as robberies go in the area. So there's several crews that they took down. They're called serial robbers. So.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to the CompStat. If you look at the at the graph compared to last September of 2016, we're down a good amount, 413 overall last year, 373 this year. Shows kind of a downward trend coming from what the summary suggests, that we were slightly up, and now that we're kind of coming down, it's probably going to be reflective of making some of those arrests might be impacting the trends as far as going in a downward motion. Rapes are trending below average. We go back to rapes real quick. Last month we talked about how the rapes were up, and we talked about how that was because sometimes people come to the area and they'll report rapes to us that happened maybe in the past. And I brought it up, and you can see that now because this is natural, it's not a common crime that occurs. That shows you the trend's moving back down to where it's more below average or normal, what we would know as normal for the area here. The robberies, you can see that the trends are starting to move back down towards where our average is. So that's going to be reflective of arresting some of these crews. You know, as we arrest crews, sometimes other crews might develop, but as far as the ones that have been plaguing us for a while, we can see that hopefully the trend will continue in a downward motion. Aggravated assaults, which are all felony assaults, they're starting to trend down from in June or in July and August. They were starting to trend up. A lot of that sometimes has to do with the fact that you have juveniles are out of school, you have more assaults, more fights. It's the summer, it's hot. Sometimes that attributes to that. So now that we're coming into September, we're starting to see that trend back down towards the average. Burglaries, you can see they are also trending below average right now. The commercial burglaries are down because of the arrests made. There's a crew from Arizona and East Lancaster that had 3 members that were arrested. It was 4 Millback juvies that were also doing some burglaries in the Sky Tower Park area. They were also arrested. And just identifying and arresting these crews help reduce the overall burglaries in the area. So this Berg team has been doing some hotspot policing, which would they flood the high crime areas with proactive policing, and that helps us impact those areas and identify crews. That would be the number of arrests in compared to, to the overall crimes occurred. Yeah, so, yeah, that's good. Yeah. Larceny thefts over the year, over a period of a year, we're starting to move down a little bit. That also is reflective of probably having a lot more juveniles out and about, not being in school. That kind of contributes to the summer, having our thefts go up. So it's starting to trend down in September. And the grand theft vehicles looks like it's trending just a little bit above average, but as you see for the year, it kind of goes up and down. It's not a big change, it's just a slight change. Okay, for the LEAPS program, we have the LEAPS program assisted with 11 arrests, 12 of those being fights and assaults, 5 of them being burglaries or robberies, 7 being traffic stops, 6 other offenses or suspicious circumstances, and 1 of an incident with a person with a gun. And the dispatch summary. 32% of people, which includes medical services, responses, assaults, robberies, and threats, missing persons, person with a gun, domestic violence, and murder, property crimes, 14%, arrests with detention, 16%, vehicles, 14%, and observations, 24%.
Is that it?
That's all I got.
Commissioners, any questions? None? Chris, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything you do. Come to November meeting, I'm sure you'll have some ideas for the holiday season for the individuals of the city of Lancaster to protect themselves as far as shopping and stuff. And I know Mr. Dorico always informs us and things like that for the general public, so
Yes, sir.
that'd be great. Thank you, sir.
thank-
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
California Highway Patrol, how are you, sir?
Good morning. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Great. Thank you. So I'll go into some of our statistics. This just covers the California Highway Patrol's jurisdiction, unincorporated areas throughout the Antelope Valley, as well as the 14 freeway. So far this year, we've had 573 property damage collisions, 651 injury collisions, 22 fatal collisions, and there have been 30 total victims. Unfortunately, there was a fatal accident this morning up near Elizabeth Lake Road and Bouquet Canyon involving a pedestrian up there. 8 of those 30 victims were not wearing their seatbelts, so that's still an ongoing problem. Speed, DUI, seatbelt violations, distracted driving tend to be the main causes of our collisions here in the Antelope Valley. So we focus our efforts on those. The primary things that we are doing to try to mitigate this is, number one would be our safety presentations. We've done 82 of those throughout the year. That includes our Start Smart program for new drivers every 15 minutes, and our child safety seat program. We have several of those that we do throughout the year to try to get the message out, try to get the word out there. We've had or conducted 13,513 enforcement contacts so far this year, and their focus is primarily on those violations that cause these fatal collisions and the injury collisions. We've had 7 pursuits so far this year. All 7 of them were successful. Nobody has been injured. So that's kind of the summary of what we've got going on. Just wanted to remind everybody that we're currently hiring officers and dispatchers. Anyone that's interested can stop by our office if you know somebody. chpcareers.com is our website. And we are currently, the dispatch hiring that's going on right now is coming up really soon. So anyone that's interested would have to act now to get into this next testing process for that.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jocelyn?
I just want to, Mr. Franklin asked me to apologize to everyone for his absence today. He's tied up in court, so that's why he's not here.
Okay.
Good morning.
Hi.
Last month, we talked a little bit about the vacant, abandoned properties, absentee property owners, and so forth. I put together a few stats. It's not really a comprehensive overview of these kinds of buildings. ComCate, which is the system that sort of tracks the active cases, the code enforcement cases, has various violation categories. So we just ran it on 2 of the categories, which the violations are called abandoned structure and partially destroyed building. So we ran them between September of 2007 and September of 2017. Using just those 2 violation categories, there have been 232 new cases opened in that 10-year period. Currently, in ComCate, under those 2 categories, there are 17 active cases, but I can tell you I know of at least 4 or 5 other properties that I'm working on right now that must be linked to a different violation category in ComCate. They didn't show up on the report that I ran, but they are out there. Of the 17 active cases in ComCate, 14 were opened between 2014 and 2017. We do have a few lingering from 2010, 2011, just those real problem ones that there's virtually no solution. What we're doing in legal to try to get a handle on some of these, we have various strategies. We can abate in one way or another. We can file a civil action against the property owner, which is very costly and takes a long time and is not always very effective. We can go criminal if the property owner is local or relatively local. We're working on one case right now that has an owner that lives in Florida. Nothing I can do to file against him that is going to get anything done. So what we're trying to do is when we issue compliance letters, particularly with absentee property owners, is to include a letter of agency, ask them to fill that out and sign it, which will authorize the sheriff's department to arrest anybody that's found on the premises. We ask them to retain a local professional property manager to at least kind of keep an eye on the property in their absence. And what we're starting to include in our letters now is just advising absentee owners that the housing market has really picked up in the Antelope Valley. And if they don't want to have responsibility for a long-distance property, this might be a good time for them to list it and sell it, get a local owner. We kind of just work on these on a case-by-case basis. It just, the specifics sometimes guide us about what we can do. If you all have any other suggestions, I'm certainly willing and excited to listen to anything because these are real problems. They're long running and it's a real issue.
I've seen some of the stuff you've worked on, Jocelyn. It's horrendous and what you do and have to do. And I've just noticed, I passed by one the other day and I noticed it's still boarded up and it's been quite some time and this and that and everything else. I asked myself, I go, what's going on? I think a particular owner out of the area type thing. And I mean, what can you do? And I'm sure you have the citizens in the neighborhood calling to the city and complaining and saying, what are we doing about this? They don't quite understand the whole procedures and what takes place. So a time frame like that, I mean, your hands are somewhat tied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the property that you and I discussed about a
Correct.
year ago, as weird as it sounds, that's actually in good shape because it's still boarded up. It hasn't been opened again by squatters, so it sounds unusual, but it's cleaned up. There's no
Right.
junk, trash and debris in the yard. It's not open and accessible. That owner is actually, I believe he's still in custody. So it's just going to sit like that, but at least it's not being broken into.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
take your victories.
And
where you can
I
get them.
remember seeing that before, and when you had it, I went, oh my goodness, so, yeah, phenomenal, but, so. All right, any questions or anything else? Good. Mr. Draco.
Good morning, thank you. I'd like to just start off for my time. I'd like to bring up Angela Claiborne to talk about the city's partnership with the Boulevard Ambassador Program that's taking place in our downtown area.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you, Lee. My name is Angela Claiborne, and I represent the Boulevard Association as its Executive Director. I'm thankful to Lee for this morning giving us the opportunity to introduce our Boulevard Ambassadors, a group I'm very, very proud of. The Boulevard Ambassadors were actually deployed about a year ago as a best practice recommendation from downtowns and civic centers like ours. So we introduced them about September of last year. So it's a full year where we've had them on board. And they've really enhanced kind of the safety experience downtown and the vitality, both economically and in terms of quality of life downtown. So I'm going to take a moment to introduce Harold Kofer, who's the supervising ambassador for the ambassador program. And then he'll introduce the individual ambassadors who are here with us today and share a few of the wins for this current year in terms of their presence. Thank you.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Want to introduce Ambassadors Ashley Trent and Chris Dufresne. Myself, I'm Harold Kofer. I am the manager of this program here. Over the first year of deployment, we have made over 16,000 business and merchant contacts. That's about 50 a day individually. So we're going into businesses, we're shaking hands, and we're also assessing and addressing needs and concerns of each business. Over this course of time, we have also facilitated and helped with referrals to help tackle quality of life issues and try to get some of the folks off the streets if they're ready for that type of transition, where there's transitional housing, treatment centers, or if they're a displaced veteran, MHA. We've also helped reduce petty crime or smaller crime on, the level of our LASD, which we call Big Brother. At no point do we believe that, we are sheriffs out there, but we want to be a representation of everyone here and our Big Brother. By just helping reduce minor crimes if we can, we've also taken away some of the panhandlers, over 3,000 at this point, whether it's ATMs or local businesses, petty theft, things like that. And we just look forward to, another year of great service and making sure the community is safe and helping develop this boulevard into being, a safe environment where people can peruse, bring their families, and kind of carry on with their days, whatever they want to do, just as long as it's safe. That's what we believe in, and we believe that in doing this, it actually helps, the world a little bit, one boulevard at a time, or if we think about it, one business at a time, and maybe they can, look at some of the things that we're doing here and kind of adapt some of the things that we've done well. Yeah.
Are you doing it 7 days a week? Is it
Yes, sir. 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday.
Wow.
Fridays and Saturdays are busy days. We stay out up until 12 a.m., to help with escorts.
Wow.
And, let's say you had a really great shopping day on the boulevard. We're going to help you with your bags as well. So we take a hospitality and customer service approach to security, as well as, deferring and helping relieve petty crime.
Can't thank you enough. That's incredible.
We appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Great job. I mean, well.
I got it. How many ambassadors are there total?
Yes, sir. There's 4 at this point.
Yeah, 4 of you?
Yes, sir.
And when you talk about reduction of minor crime, is that because of your presence?
Yes, sir.
You believe that happens?
We're a visual deterrent. visible deterrent.
And the radios you're wearing, that's to contact your big brother if you need it, is that correct?
We have direct lines.
Okay.
We also have a deputy liaison, and, anyone that we see perusing the boulevard or just patrolling, we stop and we talk to those guys all the time, so we have a really great relationship with them.
Okay, so if there's an issue, and people, that word's getting out, I'm assuming, so that,
Yeah.
they'll see you on the boulevard, that reduces crime just because
sir.
of the presence, but they also know that, hey, you'll call somebody else in if you need to.
Yes, sir. Mr. DeRico, he has given us so many numbers of contact, and we've established, like I said, really great relationships with the LASD.
Well, you're doing a great job. I've seen you out there myself, so.
Thank you, sir.
It's a very impressive program, if I might. And what's the origin of this program? How did it come to be?
Actually, we did a kind of a survey to see what our needs would be, our needs are, and how we can address those needs here on the boulevard. And so, after some advice from a consultant, we decided that the ambassador program would be the best program to implement to address the needs on the boulevard, and it's been absolutely successful. I wanted to add that, in addition to kind of the safety experience that you have downtown, we've also seen increases in property tax, property values, and sales tax. So their presence has helped enhance kind of the overall experience, not just for the patron, but for the merchant side of things as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Sure. So the Boulevard Association is actually funded by an assessment. So the merchants kind of assess themselves a tax within the districts for the purpose of kind of benefiting the district. So to enhance safety concerns or to increase the marketing efforts, that assessment is there for that purpose. So that assessment supports it. There's also support from the city, so we're thankful for that as well. Absolutely. Thank you. It's a partnership.
It's about a 50-50 partnership for support. But truthfully, if you look at the cost reduction we've had in resource management for law enforcement and freeing the deputies up from dealing with some of the quality of life issues, that these folks have done a tremendous job, okay, doing their part and being visible and truly being ambassadors for the city and representing the community. And, well, I can tell you from an effective standpoint, that might be something to talk about. I know for here, if the results are proven, we can document statistically the impact that it's had on reduction in crime and issues that we have downtown. That would be Mr. Bozigan's call, I believe, council's.
I think one of the key points of this program, and I agree with Lee in terms of resource management, this could work in shopping centers and other locations to assist deputies. But a key point is everyone having skin in the game. The merchants are more bought in because they're helping to pay for it. And we're very fortunate, the people we have too. Make no mistake, this program wouldn't be as effective without you guys and your team. But having people get together and having skin in the game, and the merchants pay for some of it too, makes all the difference in the world. You know, the city's willing to facilitate and help pay for part of it. This would work in a lot of locations.
Fantastic. I mean, it's a fantastic thing. The presence alone is incredible.
Well, thank you for your support. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lee, can you make sure this presentation gets done to the city council?
Absolutely, sir. No problem.
Thank you.
Just whenever you'd like to see it. Okay, I just want to announce a couple things coming up, and as you mentioned earlier, Vice Chair Little, that we're in full swing on our holiday safety program and outreach we're doing through social media as well through Cinemark. Right now, we're, concentrating on Halloween safety and what folks should be looking for out there and what their concerns should be and how to keep kids safe and the community safe as they're out there participating. Coming up on Saturday, October 28th, will be the Boulevard Halloween event downtown. It's scheduled from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock on that day. We've actually augmented those hours to be, address issues as relate to after darkness that we've had and to make sure that we have a good control of the area as it relates to recent events. So we've really stepped up a lot of our discussion on how do we enhance the safety of these events, and we'll put those resources to do that working with the Sheriff's Department. And then Saturday, November 4th is the Field of Drafts event, which I believe is sold out. Am I correct? Because I know the VIP part sells out in about 3 minutes. So.
The VIP is sold out, and the rest of it's close to it. So we're going to have a press conference on Thursday, and we expect the tickets will be gone in a couple weeks after that.
Okay, and then lastly, I just want to, first of all, I want to thank everyone in the community and the city and the Sheriff's Department for commemorating Steve Owens' anniversary of Steve's death and sacrifice in our community. I believe, Teresa, you guys did an amazing job organizing that vigil. I want to really appreciative of Assemblyman Lackey and the press conference and event we had regarding the freeway signage. And I just want to say that, you know, Steve was a very close friend of mine, a partner of mine for years, and I'm just really amazed at the community support that we have. And I'm going to just say, Vice Mayor, you knocked it out of the park with the speech. I've never seen more deputies come up and talk about that, but that was a great, great thing. Also, the Fallen Heroes Ride event through the Sheriff Boosters as well was an incredibly great event that was participated. We had quite a line of vehicles and motorcycles out there on Sunday, and really enjoyed that as well. So, but again, Steve's thing, I think people need to understand is what he meant to all of us, and then really what is amazing to see the community support we have here in the Antelope Valley and our city. Last thing is this Friday is a memorial event for Jennifer Parks, who's one of our local victims from the shooting in Las Vegas. That's going to be at Jethawk Stadium on Friday at 4:30. The community and any folks from the community that would like to attend are invited at that time. That's been great support from the city and the community as well. And so I'd like to invite people to come out, and as well as the survivors that are local folks to come out and participate.
Any questions for Mr. DeRico? Anything? Before I get to the other two, I'd like to recognize Councilman Austin Bishop from City of Palmdale. Mr. Bishop, would you stand to be recognized, sir? Thank you so much for being here, and with your busy schedule, really appreciate it. We appreciate what you're doing down there too. So, thank you for being here, sir. Russ, Rick, who wants to go first?
If you don't mind, I'm just going to sit here and give a little brief report. I don't have a complete count yet, as that the Senate office is still trying to figure out how many bills the governor did sign so far, but as of a couple days ago, he has signed in 543 bills. He has vetoed 38. Total bills of 581. The veto rate is actually a little bit lower. I think it's because he's leaving office soon, so might as well sign every bill that he possibly can that goes along with his agenda. Some of the bills that have been signed that pertain to criminal justice is AB 789. This gives a judge the right to not release a domestic violent case on their own recognizance. Another bill that was signed in was SB 384. It increases the tier when somebody wants to, that is a sexual offender, when they go up and try to get their release from the sexual offense, that the DA can require a hearing on that. And then one other bill that we saw was AB 539 that was signed in, increases the search warrant ability for police officers to request a search warrant if they look through a window and see something that could be a confiscated item. So it gives the police a little bit more ability to work. As these bills get signed in, Russ and I will compile a complete report that comes down to criminal justice, so we can actually give a report on every bill that was signed in that would pertain to City of Lancaster and criminal activities and possibly more justice out here. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Cook? Thanks, Rick. Thank you. Hi, Russ.
Hi there. I can't see you there. Rick went through a number of the bills that have been signed, and like I said, we're waiting for the other ones. Just one I want to bring to attention. I mentioned it one time before. SB 620 is on the governor's desk, waiting to be signed or not, but I have a feeling. It reduces, and this is an odd one, it just reduces the criminal sentence enhancement when someone uses a firearm to commit a crime. I don't understand this bill. Neither does the Assemblyman. He spoke against it on the floor. One of the few times I saw him actually just perplexed by why they want this bill to go through. but it will reduce the, if you use a gun in a crime, previously there was a, higher level, that now they can actually reduce it down because it's not important whether or not a gun was used during that crime. So, in an area where they're more than happy to add more restrictions on gun owners, but they want to reduce the penalties on this one. So SB 620 has yet to be signed, but it's on the governor's desk. So that was it. I want to add that one to it. All right.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Russ. Public business on non-agendized items on the floor. Any individual can fill out a speaker card. They have 3 minutes to speak on any item that's not on the agenda. I have one speaker card. Mr. David Paul.
Mr. Vice Chair and Commissioners, good morning. Today is like the part of the movie where everything starts to turn good. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the shooting simulation, and the practice is important. Practice, practice, practice. I go to so many different meetings, and the thing that heartens me today is last night I was trying to talk about the Nobel Peace Prize awarded to this group that basically tries to collaborate with nations and other entities to reduce nuclear weapons. So they don't have any authority, but they just go around and bring people together, and they won the Nobel Peace Prize for that. And that opened my eyes, because sometimes I'm dissatisfied with the effectiveness, and I think that if only people would come together and coordinate. And it was funny, last night I tried to remember the minister's prayer, and I lost the word collaboration. But that's what it's really all about, and that's what makes me feel so good today. I see this. The ambassadors, thank you very much. That's true. A presence will deter many things and bring down the cost of police enforcement, and all these are great things that are happening. And Dr. Brown, I just wanted to say, at the last board meeting I was at, I didn't come down to speak because I was having a little trouble walking, and it's hard to give a good presentation when you've just fallen on your face walking down the stairs. But I wanted them to know what you do here and what that means to our community. And I'm so inspired that you commit your time to make this community a better place. And I'm really heartened by coming together with the hospital and our just effort, the community effort to make our town a better place. And so thank you so very much for everything you do. And I leave today feeling better than when I came. Mr. Fuller, nice to see you back. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Always nice. Thank you, David. This is where we want to revisit Los Angeles County Sheriff Simulator demonstration.
Mr. Vice Chairman?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Rob Harris over here. If I could say a few words to introduce the next demonstration.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
So we have some honored guests here today, and Austin Bishop from Palmdale City Council. If you could come down and join us for the demonstration, and Kathy McLaren is our representative from the Palmdale Water District and also from the IBEW. Yes, if you'd just come down in front. And also we have Atherine Blanco, who I think this is her brainchild, along with Sergeant Andy Nagel. And then we have Bert Perez, who is with IT Training, who has brought the simulator. And I just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork. I was very fortunate to be invited to a presentation of the simulator in Palmdale at the IBEW Hall. And I realized that this is a program that is meant to help the entire Antelope Valley. And speaking what David Paul just talked to us about, collaboration, if we all work together, we're going to be able to get this program out to our schools and out to our community. So I wanted it to be presented here. And with that said, I just want to thank all of you to be here. I know this program's going to get a kickstart from IBEW. And Kathy, we thank you very much with a $5,000 donation to kickstart it. Andy's going to explain to us the cost and more of the information. So without taking any more of your thunder, Andy,
Sure.
I'd like you to get this started.
Well, thank you very much, and I really do appreciate the opportunity to stand before you today and present this. Even though it says on the marquee here, Palmdale Sheriff Station, I happen to work out of Palmdale Sheriff Station. My name is Andy Nagel. I'm in charge of community relations and volunteer programs out of the Palmdale Station. I don't necessarily see the Antelope Valley as having a boundary per se. I know we have these Palmdale and Lancaster, but really the Sheriff's Department and the citizenry here, we're all one large community. It stretches all the way over to Green Valley and Leona Valley and Neenack, all the way to the San Bernardino County border and Kern County border. So even though I represent Palmdale Station, I'd like you to know that I'm here actually representing the entire Sheriff's Department here in the Antelope Valley. One of the unique things, as you know, about our sheriffs up here is that over 90% of the deputies who work at the stations, both Palmdale and Lancaster, actually live here. So we all have a vested interest in our community. With that being said, I'd like to make a confession, and that confession is I never wanted to be a deputy sheriff. 30 years ago, I applied to be a Los Angeles County Deputy Marshal. And at my interview for the marshal, they asked if I had applied for any other agencies, and if so, what agencies I'd applied for. And I said, no, hadn't applied for any other agencies. I just want to be a marshal. And they said, well, how come you didn't apply for the Sheriff's Department? And I said, I hope this doesn't disqualify me, but every sheriff I'd ever met was a jerk. And they kind of chuckled at that, and they said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, at the time, this is in the mid-1980s, the Sheriff's Department had huge investigations due to corruption, with a scandal called Arco Narco. There were deputies out of Temple Station that were stealing people's credit cards and making purchases and things on that, and really giving all of law enforcement a bad name. And my goal in becoming a law enforcement officer was to try and change that image of law enforcement. I kind of look at us as a law enforcement family, and I didn't think I could do it from within the confines of the Sheriff's Department. So fast forward that as kind of a little joke. In 1994, we got taken over by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and my worst nightmares came true. And here I am before you today with that. So with that, let me just tell you just a couple little things. One of the reasons I didn't want to be a deputy sheriff is because I never liked what the Sheriff's Department did or the way the deputies acted. And so once I became a deputy sheriff, I went out to patrol and kind of learned a different perspective as to why the deputies do some of the things that they do. And with that, I also learned that I can actually take folks who, I want to say, were extreme critics of the Sheriff's Department and kind of change their attitudes by merely showing them kind of a different side of the Sheriff's Department. So with that, I shared my story with Athrun Blanco here, and I'd like to let her say a few words too, and explain to you exactly what she's been instrumental in trying to get going, and then I'll do a little presentation as to what we're looking at proposing. So, Athrun.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Vice Chairs and elected officials. Good morning to everyone who has come. I'm Athrun Blanco, and I am a member of this community. And because I travel between both, I'm a member of the AV Valley. Don't let the badge fool you. They wouldn't give me a gun because if you saw my resorts over, they said no. So they did allow me to be on the CAC. So I serve there, and my chair is community engagement. I've been a volunteer for about 30 years. My goal and my mission have been our kids, my grandkids, your kids, just our kids. And today is very vital with everything that's going on in the world that we invest in our kids. So this is not about me, certainly not about anyone else. It's about this entire AV Valley and saving it so that it does not become all of it, everything that we hear is going on in other states. So bringing about this program is helping our youth make a decision. Because one thing that I know, and all of you have got to know, whether you are firing weapons or not, once the bullet leaves the chamber, you cannot call it back. So if we can educate our kids and in turn educate our parents and those to-be parents and those who became parents by way of however they got the kids, to help us control this community, be a better partners with our deputy and law enforcement as we come across them in any situation. It's a learning curve for everybody. We don't all have the solution of how to handle this, but you know what? This is a great start that I think. And I hope that you will take a look at it and be impressed with it and then help us. But while I'm here, I also would like to really thank Dave Gomez and Kathy McLaren from IBEW Local 11. We presented this program to them over a weekend, and within a week, I got a call and said, you know what, we're interested, come pick this check up. So I was very, very happy. So now we're here today with you. And with that, I'm going to turn it right back over to Sergeant Andy, and he'll take you through the process. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. So I put another slide up here, and it says, most disagreements are caused by different perceptions, which created different realities. And the deal is a perfect person's perception is their reality. And what we have right now going on in our community is, I think, a great representation is this slide here. Depending on which angle you look at this slide, you can see a square and you can see a circle. And one person will be on one side of this and say it's definitely a square. There's absolutely no way it can be anything other than a square. And then if you stand on the other side and look at it, you'll get a different perspective. It's a circle. And that person would look at that and say there is nothing other than a circle there. How could you see a square when I'm looking at a circle? In reality, the center there is a cylinder. This is kind of the polarizing aspects that we have going on, not only in our communities, but also in our nation right now. People are looking at the same thing from two different angles and seeing different things. And this is really kind of I want to say, the problem we have. Our goal is to kind of bridge the gap between the community and law enforcement. On one side of that, if you can imagine, law enforcement, I'll call us the squares, okay, and the community being the circle. The reality is somewhere in the middle we have to meet, and we have to understand that law enforcement has a job. It's not always a pretty job. The reality is generally speaking, 50% of the people we come in contact with are not going to be happy with the end result of our being there. But the reality is we still have a job to do, and the community has a responsibility as well, and that responsibility is to be good citizens within the community and follow the laws and regulations that are within. With that, our goal is to try and bring that community together, and we've done several different things here throughout the Antelope Valley, both in Palmdale and Lancaster stations, to work with our communities to engage with the members. And so with that, here's another slide showing different perspectives. One person can look at the first slide there and see the 6, the other looking at it seeing a 9, and the argument will ensue. No, it's a 6, no, it's a 9. The other one there I put just to make sure nobody had anything in their coffee this morning. Is it 4 bars or is it 3 bars? Once again, it's all in how you look at it. It's different angles. So with that, this is kind of an interesting slide in that it shows how law enforcement officers view the public and versus how the public views what they may see. On the first left side of the slide there, the officer or person would see a drug dealer, gang members, and a car thief. So there's a person standing there on the street corner, a group of kids walking down the street, and then finally somebody trying to get into their car. So you know, the public sees it differently than we do. So how do we bridge this gap? We speak different languages, we see things differently, and our goal is to try and change a person's reality and perspective on things. And to do that, the only way to change a person's perception of reality is to allow them to experience a new paradigm, to bring them out of their comfort zone and allow them to actually experience something that they haven't seen before. At Palmdale Station and both at Lancaster Station, we also do ride-alongs. So the public can go on a ride-along 8 hours in a patrol car with a deputy sheriff. And generally speaking, we do, here in the Antelope Valley, we're doing between 700 and 800 ride-alongs a year where the public gets an opportunity to see exactly what the deputies do in that radio car. There really is no better way to show the public how law enforcement does things than to bring them into our world. And so what our goal is in trying to change people's paradigms at a younger age, where maybe going into high schools and our local universities as well as community events here, is to actually take it on the road. And our goal is to actually take a shooting simulator. A simulator is nothing more than a large screen that projects an image on it. and you interact with that image, and the image will give you different types of scenarios, whether they be a shoot or don't shoot type situation, but it's an opportunity for the public to kind of get a first-hand view, a deputy's eye view of how to interact with somebody who is uncooperative, somebody who may pull out a firearm in an instant and actually react to that. And so our goal is to take this simulator and actually mount it inside of a trailer that we can take to events throughout the Antelope Valley. Our goal is to take it to places like the Poppy Festival. Last week we had the Bark in the Park. We had the Fallen Heroes Ride. Throughout the Antelope Valley, there's events going on a regular basis, and our goal is to take it out to these events, showing the community exactly what law enforcement officers have to experience to try and change their paradigm, let them see things from a different perspective, and then open up conversation with the public and bring them into law enforcement in figuring out how we can resolve some of these issues. With that, I have a gentleman from TI training, and his name is Bert Perez. He's been gracious enough to bring a simulator here today. The screen he has is small, just to fit in the room here, but our goal is the actual screen is a large screen. It would fit inside the trailer, and it would be a floor-to-ceiling type screen, so we are actually immersed in the situation and scenario. With that, there's some costs, and it's not necessarily a cheap endeavor. The actual shooting simulator runs about $39,000, $40,000, and our goal to put it in a trailer, the trailer costs about $22,000. So we're looking at about $6,300 when everything is said and done to actually make this dream a reality. But the benefits is that goal to reach out to the community and spark conversation, engage the community, rather than stand on the sidelines and point fingers at law enforcement and complain about what law enforcement is doing, to actually work with law enforcement to solve some of the problems, understand law enforcement perspective, and allowing law enforcement to see the community's perspective so we can form a bond together and work through our issues and see things differently. The next other thing is to teach the public the how, the what, the why of what law enforcement does. And then finally, to promote good citizenship and create those friendships in resolving community issues, working together. The benefits and things that we've learned throughout the years in what we've been trying to do in reaching out to the community is, number one, most people's contact with law enforcement only comes up when we pull them over in a traffic stop or during something that happens, a domestic violence incident, a fight, some type of negative contact. Our goal is to actually go out into the community and allow people to see us as people. We are people. We live in this community. We are your neighbors. We shop at the same Walmart. Our kids go to the same schools. We are the community. The community is us. And we want the public to see that and work with us in our law enforcement endeavor. Learn about our equipment, ask questions of the law enforcement officers, engage in that critical dialogue with us. And finally, on the other side, I have their Antelope Valley benefits. Our goal is not only to create positive press within law enforcement and throughout the valley, but it's really to create positive role models. We talked about Sergeant Owen and what a positive influence he was on everybody that he came in contact with. Our goal is to equip our deputies not only with the tools and training to be just like Sergeant Owen, but to take that out to the community and once again share with the community who we are and how we are also a member of this community too. And then finally, I want you to know that the people always look at the price and they go, oh my gosh, we're talking $63,000 for a trailer with a shooting simulator. And one only need to look at incidents like Baltimore or Ferguson, Missouri, to see what the public discourse is when we have a questionable shooting, to see how the public perceives things when law enforcement officers do what they do, and unfortunately the public looks at it differently. Social media these days is on top of everything, and they'll put a slide and a slant on things that may not necessarily be the truth, but once it's out there, it's very hard to change a public's perception of what really happened. Our goal is to get out in front of this. Our goal is to explain to our public, our community, starting with our high schoolers, exactly what we do, how we do it, and why we do it, so that when the next shooting happens that may be questionable, we don't end up as the next Ferguson, Missouri, and we don't end up as one of these other communities that are torn apart by law enforcement's action. So with that, I'd like to thank you again, once again. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you for doing this. I think it's a terrific idea. Like you mentioned before, I've had the opportunity on many occasions to do a ride-along, and I think it's extremely eye-opening in a very positive way, very educational. And this, when you talked about perception, of course, social media, but there's also this entertainment organization that we call television news, which also has an effort to try and present a reality that may be fairly removed from reality for entertainment purposes. So it's hard to combat that kind of perception, and this is an excellent opportunity to do that. I really appreciate that you people have put this together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it the intention that you're looking for funding? Is that what you're doing too?
Yes, we're looking for support throughout the Antelope Valley community to put it together. Once again, our goal is to engage with the community, and so we're looking for the community to step forward and allow us the opportunity to share what we do with them. And so we're looking for funding from not only private donations, but businesses that may be interested in partnering with us in this endeavor.
Now, is it correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the Sheriff's Department at one time have something in LA area? Because it was brought up here at one time, and I know that our Vice Mayor, who's also the president of the Antelope Valley Sheriff Board, brought it up here and got it up here. It was very...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a system. It's a little bit different than the one we're presenting here today. It's actually manufactured by a company called Milo. It's currently at Palmdale Station, and we run our deputies through that. We try and run them through that on a regular basis. Both Palmdale and Lancaster Station deputies, as well as Santa Clarita deputies, come up to actually use the system. They will be removing that system from our station. It's going downtown somewhere for an additional training. Right now, our department is not to get into a whole big deal, but our department is working on trying to figure out a way to deal with the mental health crisis that we have. It's a huge issue right now, not only in our area, but also throughout LA County. And what we're trying to do is send our deputies through a week-long training course in how to actually de-escalate and work with folks that have mental health issues. And the goal is to bring our Milo system, that they're going to take it away from us and take it down for this training for everybody within the Sheriff's Department.
If something like this is funded for the Antelope Valley sheriffs up here, is it possible that it could be taken from this department's up here, from the powers to be over the hill?
No, the way we have it set up, and I've talked with Catherine Barger's office, and the idea would be we would get it as an endowment and then turn it over to Los Angeles County for specific use up here in the Antelope Valley. And it would be accepted into the county's fleet, so they would maintain it, handle any computer problems, any glitches that go along with it, as well as maintenance on the trailer itself. And it would become a county asset, but it would be dedicated to the Antelope Valley.
But they could take it and use it for their over the hill if they would want to at any time, or no?
It's my understanding, no, they wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Or they could not do that, as it specifically would be designated for the Antelope Valley.
Okay. Any questions, Jeff? Anybody? Your vote.
I'd like to hear from the Vice Mayor Marvin Chris, because Antelope Valley Sheriff Busto, we talked about this trailer previously. That's exactly the same idea.
This is a Palmdale project. This is a Palmdale project. I don't think that we should step on their boosters are putting it together. The IBEW is funding their boosters. Let them see if they can come up with the money.
I will tell you, our boosters are not actually, how do I put this? They're not sponsoring this project. Our boosters' mission is to provide for all of the deputies within our station. And they look at this as a community engagement aspect, and it's not necessarily directed to our deputies at our station. The money is being routed through the boosters so that I want to say, for lack of a better term, it's going to sound awful, but to clean the money to put it all together, essentially. So the boosters have nothing to do with it other than to receive the money as a 501c3.
Mr. Vice Chairman, if I could
Yes, sir.
jump in on that comment. In bringing this group here to talk to the Criminal Justice Commission and also to present it to our city and vice mayor. The plan is again, collaboration and to work together actually with Antelope Valley Sheriff boosters for donations to come in through Antelope Valley Sheriff boosters to help fund this program and then to share it among the stations. This is an Antelope Valley program. And again, the reason I had invited Austin to come is we absolutely need to start collaborating and working together on all programs within the Antelope Valley. And the two cities need to come together to do these type of projects. And I'm hoping that this is going to be one small example of how collaboration can make something very successful. So I will certainly be sitting down with our vice mayor and having discussions, and our hope is that the Antelope Valley Sheriff Boosters, which many of you are members of, would embrace this program and help make it a reality for our valley. Also, for the commission, we have brought the simulator so that each one of you at the end of the meeting can go through it and see how it works and see how police officers on the street have to make split-second decisions that can change their lives and other lives forever. So we'd like all of you to participate in this, and others here, as long as Bert is able to stay and run the operation with Andy. So that's the intent. Austin, would you like to say a few words or put you on the spot?
Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to say thanks for having me here, and I appreciate the presentation. I had the privilege to use the simulator a couple weeks ago, and it really does put it into perspective what our law enforcement officers are dealing with. And it would be nice to have that go around the community, just not Palmdale, but the entire Antelope Valley, and show our kids and our residents just exactly what our sheriff's department is up against. I think it's going to be a huge benefit to our city, and it should help in helping reduce the crime and raise awareness. Thanks for having me here today, Tim.
Any questions for anybody? Thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. And then obviously stick around, commissioners, and be able to go through the simulator and see. So, Councilman Bishop, thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Paris, thank you, sir. Thank you.
My pleasure, and thank you for your attention to this.
Commissioner comments, anything? Nothing? Then we'll stand adjourned until Wednesday, November 8, 2017.